which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Moines County Board of Supervisors, Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. Are there any changes to the tentative agenda?
I have none.
Got an extra agenda.
Oh, I think I put it on Shane's desk and I gave him one also. Thanks, Ken.
Law enforcement to the rescue.
I'm here to help.
That was for that tabby.
Objection served.
But no, I don't have any change.
We have an agenda. Meet with department heads, elected officials. Sarah Doty, Des Moines
Good
County
morning.
Auditor.
Cheryl, Colin, and Kevin and I attended a meeting yesterday just on election security and getting prepared for the presidential, and other than that, business as usual.
Thank you, Sarah. Kevin Glendenny, Des Moines County Sheriff.
Good morning. The election security training, that was eye-opening, and how we can kind of be a bigger part of that to help with the auditor's office and their duties, and looking forward to applying some of those things in the future. Had a busy week behind us with Ragbri and the fair, but everything went really well. Seemed like they were really great events, and other than that, just a lot of meetings and a lot of things happening, but really nothing of major importance for the board. The jail was at 90 this morning. We've got potentially 8 going out this week. So we've been kind of looking for that relief with the state, and we're hopefully going to find that this week and hopefully see that come down, but we'll see how it goes. 18 of those were out of county this morning.
Jared Lassiter, land use.
Good morning. Well, land use has been pretty much business as usual. Been pretty keeping busy lately. We have a couple of agenda items today, and that's about it. I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Jared. Chris Lee, Conservation Director.
Things are going good. Seems like it's raining a lot,
Yeah.
but otherwise, no. I gotta give secondary roads credit. The river going down. I was just down there. They got Sullivan Slough kind of graded up. There was I've never seen so much debris from flood. So thanks to them for getting that stuff moved. I know they had some equipment down there yesterday, getting that all moved, and so that is open. We'll be looking at, with the river dropping as fast as it is, we'll be looking at getting docks put out at a couple of spots maybe later this week. I know a lot of folks are itching to salvage what they can of the river season. Ragbri was this last weekend. We had several people from that event staying at our park of Big Hollow. We had one person that said they've been staying in state and county parks all the way across the state instead of just camping with the rest of the Ragbri riders. And it was neat to hear him say this is the best park that they had stayed in all the way across the state. So that was kind of made a guy feel good. But what an event. So I was involved in that on one of the executive teams. They just did an amazing job. The volunteers and the Greater Productive Partnership that coordinated all that. What an event. I mean, to bring that many people down through here. I talked to Jimbo down to Drake last night. He said that was their biggest day ever. And just bringing that many people into this town and doing it without any major issues, and to hear the comments that we got from people saying just, how awesome this place is. I had friends talk to people from all over the country, some of which said, I'm gonna bring my family back here. I've never been to Iowa, didn't know anything about Iowa. Here I am, this place is amazing, I'm coming back to Burlington. So that's really what that is all about. And so we really featured our community in a great way, and I'm awful proud of this community, of this organization, and all the volunteers and workers that went into making that happen. So cool thing. I know everybody's glad to have it behind us. So moving on to the tail end of the summer, and looking forward to kind of sliding it out. This is our last week of summer camps, so I know my education staff is going to be happy to have that part done as well. So I think that's about it.
How'd your Chautauqua meeting go?
Oh, thanks. Good. They didn't beat me up, so that was good.
Right.
But,
Glad to be said for that.
Right.
I was gonna ask you about the chicken thing, but anyways, go ahead.
No, it was good. We had, I don't know, I think probably a dozen or 15 people show up. And, it really just was an open forum to hear people's thoughts. And we, you know, we kinda got it from, hey, you should just sell this place off and put it into housing, or this really should just be mowed, it shouldn't have this stuff growing here. And then had other people say, you know, we love this is fantastic. The neighbors right across the road said, you know, we really like what this is. So, it'll be on our board agenda to talk about. I did note all the comments that I got, and I've since gotten some emails as well. I passed my card around, and that must have got shared, and so I've gotten an email or two since, with some other comments, and I'll take that to the board and see. It sounds like the consensus probably was if we did some sort of hybrid thing where we got a little bit mowed to where it looks decent from the road, maybe some walking paths, that would be kind of a nice balance. And so we might look at trying to design that a little bit differently and maybe even tap a local volunteer or two to help keep the mowing done on it so that we don't have to pay that cost, because that was kind of the idea. So we'll keep exploring options, and I appreciate everybody that came out and shared their ideas. I mean, that's how this is supposed to work when you're working in public service, is that, you know, you want to hear people's thoughts. And, you know, you're never going to make everybody happy, but you do what you can to at least hear them out. And you know, I'm always up for ideas. And so, you know, we do one thing and decide that maybe isn't the perfect way to do it, then we'll adjust. And that's how we've always operated, and that's how we always will, as long as I'm around at least.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Ken Hyman, Mental Health Agency of Southeast Iowa.
Yeah, not a lot to report at this time. HHS is supposed to release their district maps by August 1st, so we keep hoping to see the new map. We only have a few more days.
Should be in the email pretty quick.
Yeah, so we just keep watching for that. Haven't seen anything yet, though.
Thanks, Ken.
Uh-huh.
Angie Vaughn, Safety.
Good morning. Just not much to say, keeping busy. I do got a message from Shannon. She asked me to let everyone know that they are expecting a severe weather event this evening. Currently, the biggest threat is gonna be wind, but they're not ruling out hail or embedded tornadoes either. They have moved Des Moines County out of the marginal to the enhanced risk. So, getting really tired of these storms, but apparently there's nothing we can do about it, so just kind of give you guys a heads up on that. I met
What's that
with,
later this evening?
yeah. So I met with our insurance, risk guy last week. Everything looks pretty good. We do have an outstanding, reserve still out there, so depending on how that looks in the end is gonna be what we'll see
Okay.
on the long run, so.
Talked about that alert, 5:03 this morning when that Des Moines County alert.
I know,
went
I
on.
came up out of bed.
I thought, yeah, what should I do? Real calm, you know, and about 15 minutes later, the wind started blowing and I heard something, and I looked out in the street and here went garbage bags and garbage cans all blowing down the street.
Yep.
Yeah,
It ruined my-
we've had an interesting year for weather, so.
Thanks, Angie. Lisa Schaefer, Des Moines County Attorney.
I was just telling Brian, apparently the storm this morning blew our patio heater over, and that was my first indication we had had a storm.
Crash.
So I sleep through those things, so I don't notice, but I clearly have to give my dogger Xanax when I get home. We're just still one step forward, two steps back. Now we're dealing with vacation season. So when you've only got 4 attorneys doing the job of 6, and one goes on vacation. So we're still struggling with that, but the judges have been extremely patient with us, as has law enforcement, you know, and asking us, you know, some of the things that they ask us to do that ordinarily we could get to a lot faster. They're pretty understanding that, you know, we have priorities, namely the court's deadlines are our biggest priorities. And they've been really, really patient with us and of us not being in the office because we are in court. So we really do appreciate that. We're hoping that the pressure will ease at least by the end of the summer. Conducting interviews this week for my administrative assistant position. So hopefully within the next few weeks we'll have somebody on board. National Night Out is next week, August 6th from 6 to 8, down on the riverfront. And starting, I think it was last week, we started a school supply drive. One of the things, we always try to give something out to the kids, and a shout out to Matt Rinker. He always gives something that we can give out to the kids. This year, he gave us a bunch of backpacks, and so we're doing a small school supply drive to fill those backpacks. We got the lists of the required stuff. I thought they all went to Chromebooks. I can't believe they still need like 3 columns of school supplies. So we've been doing that. So I know there's a box here at the courthouse that Sarah was kind enough to help us out with. We have one at our office. There's also one at the Burlington Police Department and one at City Hall. So we're hoping to fill those by the end of the week. I think the plan is our volunteers are then gonna start filling those backpacks and getting them ready to give out next week. We'll have a proclamation coming on for the agenda. I will more than likely not be here next week because that's our jury trial week. And we right now have 15 demands for speedy trial that have to go to trial next week. So the new judge coming in for his rotation has got his work cut out for him. He's gonna have to figure it out.
Who's that?
Josh Shear.
Okay.
I believe Judge Boddicker is the one who's going out, left him a copy of the list with Merry Christmas. So we had a busy late spring, early summer, and with a 90-day speedy trial deadline, that 90 days moves very, very fast, but we had a very busy period there, and with everybody still sitting in jail, with the exception of one, I don't know why he hasn't waived speedy trial, he's not in jail. Yeah, they're all sitting in jail, and so we'd like to get them out as quickly as possible. But we also are on the other end of our attorney crisis in that the public defender's office really only has one attorney that is handling felonies in Des Moines County. And so that makes it a struggle because out of those 15 demands, 13 of them are his. So we're all kind of trying to figure out how to brainstorm to deal with the attorney crisis that we have. We only have 2 attorneys on the private side who are qualified to take the more serious, significant cases, and they're drowning. And so, at some point, something's gotta give. Hopefully, Des Moines has some answers. So far, they have not regarded it as a problem because, oh wait, it's not Des Moines. Tom Shea, he understands how that works. So until it starts to affect them, they're not gonna care. But at some point, it's gonna require attorneys from Des Moines having to come down out of the state public defender's office and help our public defender's
That'll
office.
light a fire under them.
Then I bet we find magic solutions. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Chasing our tails constantly.
Well, good luck, Lisa. Thank you.
I think I'm gonna need more than luck, but I appreciate it.
Krista Poggemiller, Public Health Director.
Good morning. We're keeping busy in our office. We're getting ready for back to school, so we're seeing a lot of kids come in for immunizations. And we do those on Tuesdays from 8:30 to 4. We are adding 2 extra clinic days because we're very busy this year. And so we're doing August 19th from 10 to 3 for kids getting ready for kindergarten. And we're also doing August 21st from 10 to 3 for kids 7th and then 12th grade. And most of them are coming for the meningococcal vaccine. We recommend people make appointments, but we also welcome walk-ins. So that way we'll be ready for back to school for them.
We have a meeting this afternoon.
We
So
do.
hopefully we're at the end of the, close to the end of the tunnel. We can see occupancy out there at the new public health facility.
That'd be wonderful. We're getting closer.
Yeah, the last 10% of a job takes about 90% of the time and resources, it seems like. But we will have our fingers crossed. Thanks, Krista. Brian Carter, Des Moines County Engineer.
Good morning. Chris mentioned Sullivan Slough, that is open now, water's off the road. Probably went off of it sometime over the weekend if I had to guess from how fast the river was dropping. Motor grader was able to push a few trees off down to kind of the low area, but as soft as it was, we decided not to push our luck Friday any further. So we actually moved an excavator down there, our big excavator down there yesterday, and they're gonna wrap up today with anything that's left and just trying to get stuff away from the road. down there, you can't go too far. It stays so wet, so long that you bury something, but they'll get enough stuff down to where hopefully it's a 2-lane road for the most part. But she's gonna be a little soft, I'm guessing, for a while, and probably a little muddy, so. So credit to the guys for getting that open, and, our bridges are coming along. Bridge, the little one that the guys did, the crew that's down there with the excavator, that excavator had to get moved off of the bridge that we're wrapping up, our own bridge down south, so they're moving it back today. So they continue working on taking the runaround out. So sometimes doing that kind of stuff really kills efficiency, but it's what you do when you have to, and that's what we did. So anyway, but the big bridges are coming along good, making progress. Ragbri, I would say was generally quiet for us, so that's a good thing for the road department, I think. Credit to, I think I had a crew 2 to 3 straight days working on 99 or over the course of the last week, basically patching potholes and stuff like that. And if you've never done anything like that down on 99, you pretty much take your life into your own hands. I mean, the stories they tell, the semis that run right up on top of them and don't slow down and stuff like that, it truly is. I kind of hold my breath when we have a crew down there, because you're just one person staring at a phone away from a catastrophe. So credit to them, because the only reason it was quiet for us, for road-related stuff, was because of their work. The rest of the roads were in pretty good shape as they were right off the bat, but 99 obviously is a year from getting a whole chunk of money spent on it, so it needed some TLC, I guess. So, yeah, other than that, I do want to mention the bypass, the DOT project, the Mediapolis bypass project. It was supposed to bid in July. That was the last thing I knew. In fact, I was saying that all the way until a week ago. I came to find out they pushed it back to September bid. I had no idea until I made a phone call, because I couldn't find it in the bid letting that I was looking at. So, just I'd mention that the DOT moved that back. I don't know if they were still had some design issues, or if that was a budget decision, or what the reasoning was, but, so that's basically the paving part of it. That'll do the bypass, and that'll also we'll see a Mediapolis Road reconstructed from 61 over to the bypass. So, they have it projected as a 2-year project. I would think it's a weather cooperated, that wouldn't take 2 years, but either way. So, beyond that, things are still moving along. So, that's all I have.
Thank you, Brian. Miss anybody? Correspondence. Do either of you gentlemen have any correspondence?
I had none.
Apparently I've got some here. Have a letter. From Dear Des Moines County Supervisors. Thank you so much for your generous donation to our rail car project. Our project is making progress with the award of construction bids set for August 1st. The timeline goal for our finished building is January 2025, which will then allow us to add 3 more exhibits about the transit camp in the Netherlands Westerbork. Trains left the Westerbork camp every Tuesday morning, carrying as many as 2,000 to 3,000 to the death camps. September 3rd to 5th, 1944, Anne Frank and her family were among the 1,019 Jews that were deported on the last transport from Westerbork to Auschwitz. The Auschwitz Chronicle states that 549 Jews in the Franks transport from Westerbork were gassed upon arrival. Because of your continued help with this important project, generations to come will learn the lessons from the Holocaust, because none of us should ever forget. I think that's certainly true. Put that there. Now I should hit that with correspondence. That's it. Mine. Okay. Proceed to discussion and vote. We have a second public hearing to amend the Des Moines County subdivision ordinance 29 and 34. Could I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved?
Second.
Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. This is an amendment to ordinances number 29 and 34 regarding the Des Moines County subdivision and Des Moines County zoning ordinance. If anybody from the public would like to make any comments or has any questions, you can email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com. That's BOARD@dmcounty.com. You can call 319-753-8203, extension 4. We'll give you a couple minutes to initiate that phone call or that email. Jared, you want to give us, you went through this last week, you want to give us a real quick.
Just a quick recap here, yeah, there's a couple of these that are, one in each of the ordinances that are really just cleaning up the existing language. There was one instance where there was a reference left in to the corn suitability rating for subdivisions, which applied to an old regulation we had about prohibiting the subdivision of prime agricultural land, that particular term, for residential subdivisions, which basically were small lot residential development, and the CSR over, I believe, 70. So that had been removed from the ordinance at the board's direction several years ago, but there was a reference that was accidentally left in, and this is just cleaning that up so that it reads as intended at the time. And then the other one was just a wrong word used in place. There was Board of Supervisors when it should have been Board of Adjustment, and the whole section is about the Board of Adjustment, so it's pretty intuitive, but just so we're following the process here, that it's clear that was a mistake and the correct word is being inserted back in there. The most substantive change, the third and final one from the zoning ordinance, is changing the property minimum setbacks for a residential, single-family residential development in the agricultural zoning district. So it's basically changing it, reducing the minimum setbacks so that they match the same requirements from the R1 residential district. So the A1 district does have a higher minimum lot size and minimum lot width, but we've had several situations in recent years where people have planned to build a little bit closer to the line, similar to how it would be in a residential district. And so we felt it was no longer appropriate to require a higher setback just because it's a different district when there's already those other minimums in place that discourage the small lot residential development. So that's pretty much what we got here. There's one small substantive change and a couple of minor cleaning up of existing language.
Thank you, Jerry.
And I have not received any additional comments about it, so.
Anybody in attendance have any comments or questions? Did the auditor's office receive any email or call?
I have not
regarding this?
received anything in the auditor's office.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Can
Go ahead.
we, waive the third reading on this?
I think that would be a great idea, just if you make the motion to approve those amendments and include the waiving the third reading, I think that'd be great.
Are you moving to waive is that what you're doing
To
now?
approve and waive.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the second reading and waive the third reading.
I'll second that.
Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
We haven't had any comments on that for the first two, so.
Okay, we have a public hearing to amend Des Moines County Criminal Code Ordinance number 6. The amendment, essentially the dog ordinance. We need a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. If anybody has any questions or comments regarding the amendment to ordinance number 6, the dog ordinance, you can email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com. That's board@dmcounty.com, or you can call 319-753-8203, extension 4. That's 319-752-8203, or 753-8203, extension 4. We'll give you 2 minutes to initiate that call or that email. This, as we discussed last week, we made a couple small changes to the ordinance as it was originally passed, and somehow or another, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was, the wrong version got posted on the website, so, we've spent as much time on this originally in this as about any ordinance since I've been here, and I think we have this is a pretty good product. Did you receive any written or
I have not received anything in the auditor's office regarding this.
anybody in attendance have any comments or questions about this amendment?
There's also a brief amendment to, in the criminal portion of it, removing jail time from the county criminal ordinances, which are all simple misdemeanors.
Okay.
The reason we did that is if we have the ability to ask for jail time, the judges can appoint attorneys, and then the county is having to reimburse for the state public defender to do that. So now, the city did something very similar a couple of years ago when they actually got a nice bill from the public defender's office, because a judge had appointed a public defender, a contract attorney, to handle something that was under the city ordinance. So I thought, we will get this done under the county ordinance. Generally, we would never ask for jail time in a simple misdemeanor under the county ordinance, we just don't generally do it. And so this avoids the Board of Supervisors then having to pay for a public defender. Because otherwise, if there was the possibility of jail time and the judge decided to appoint them a public defender,
Okay.
you all would be on the hook at $70 an
Well,
hour.
it's not good.
I thought we would avoid that.
I understand, I remember one time talking about that, tell you what, and let's close the public hearing.
Yeah, it's kind of,
What, the 2 minutes isn't up?
Yeah.
It is? Yeah, let's, if I can get a motion to close the public hearing.
Yeah, so moved.
Second?
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Since we haven't talked about this, let's keep the third reading, just
That portion.
so if somebody would have a problem with it, this is, I don't think we've ever spoke about this in a regular session, so I would entertain a motion to approve the second reading.
I move to approve second reading, or
Second.
second hearing.
They said second.
Second. Yeah. You seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have resolution 2024-41, the final plat of Heaven on Earth subdivision. Somebody must be pretty fond of that.
I wouldn't know
I
which
guess,
place it is.
even though they're selling it, there must be some, fond memories of using that property in the past. So anyway, this is a one lot minor subdivision, near the far north end of the county between 61 and 99. It's on the north side of 260th Street, and right now it's attached to a much larger acreage on the south side of the street. So this would split the 10 acres on the north side off, and it's intended to be sold to someone else. And there is a house on the property that will be newly occupied. They also have some farm ground around it, so they've got a little bit of room between it and the adjoining residential properties, as well as an ag building just west of the house. In terms of comments received from secondary roads, noting that they need to use the existing entrances. They appear to already have an entrance for both the house and the ag building, so that should be no issue. The NRCS USDA service noted that there is a Conservation Reserve Program, CRP, easement in effect for much of the farm ground on the north side of the property. So that was just acknowledged there that agreement would continue to its current expiration date regardless of who the owner of the property is. So I did notify the current owner or representative of the owner, and they were well aware of that CRP agreement, and they notified me that the buyer is aware of that as well. However, so that was acknowledged. However, just because we do this whenever we have a active CRP agreement in place, we've included a condition on the resolution that basically acknowledges that, and just it states that that's the owner's responsibility, not the county, to ensure that that's complied with going forward. So that would recommend approval of heaven on earth.
I move to approve.
Second?
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broger.
Yes. We'll sign those for you after the meeting, Jared. And I slid this over, we're gonna drop back for correspondence. I don't know. I was reading the first one, I slid this over. We have one other piece of correspondence. We have the Dewey Buyer Trust, the account information from April 1st through June 30th. And the Dewey Buyer Trust is a trust account that Dewey Buyer left. Some of you might remember Dewey Buyer. Some of you aren't old enough to remember Dewey Buyer. He left a sum of money for the county, and the earnings on that money are used to defray property taxes. So. We have a liquor license for the Off-Trade Bar Company. Is it Off-Trade or Off-Trez?
I'm not familiar with them, but they're a traveling bar service, so.
Yeah, and it's, I believe it's for a wedding or from August 13th to August 17th. You have no problems with that?
No,
Okay.
it's a 5-day temporary license.
Second.
Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Tom Broger.
Yes. And we have a liquor license, special Class B retail native wine license for county treasurers. I believe they sell homemade or Iowa grown wine is what this is for. I've seen this annually. I would entertain a motion to approve this
So
liquor
moved.
license.
Second?
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broger.
Yes. And we have the treasurer's office list of depository of funds. The code of Iowa requires the treasurer's office to list the banks they're official depositories of county funds and the limit amounts for those banks and to run it through the board of supervisors. So this is that. Would entertain a motion to approve that with.
Move to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. And we have minutes for the regular meeting on July 23rd, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Any other business? I have none. Future agenda items. Committee reports.
Didn't have any.
Did I?
Neither did I. Slow week.
Yeah. Fair week.
Fair week.
Right.
Right, yeah. Public input. If anybody from the public would like to make a comment to the board, you can email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com. That's BOARD@dmcounty.com. Or you can call 319-753-8203, extension 4. That's 319-753-8203, extension 4. We'll give you a couple minutes to initiate that call or email. In the meantime, is there anybody in attendance that has any comments, questions, complaints you dare to ask?
It was a fair week, and I'd mentioned, I think that went well. It sounded like things went smooth. I had a couple employees that were there a better part of the week, and I think a lot of kids worked hard and went home happy, I think, with the results. So credit to all the volunteers, because that takes a ton of volunteers also. It's a rough one to have the same time as Rag Bri, I think. Volunteers, they both take, but
We took grandkids out there to the rodeo, and we sit right down at the end where they come running out, you know, after they do the barrel race. And about from here to Shane, from where they come out to where I was sitting on them bleachers, here come that young lady with that horse, come up, and that horse run right through that gate, knocked that gate over, and the guy went flying. I thought sure gonna kill that guy, you know. Girl, she come back, she was really upset because that happened to this guy. He shrugged it off, so nobody got hurt, that was a good thing.
that is part of being around the livestock and the animals and stuff. is
Yeah.
They can be a little random. I know I wasn't there very much, but I was there for about an hour of the sheep show, and there was a sheep or two that had different.
Is that what they're called, the
mind
sheep
as to
show?
What
Is
they
that
were
what they're called?
doing.
The sheep show.
Whatever they do, the presentation, so,
The sheep show.
I heard several talking about getting their foot stomped by the cattle.
yeah, I heard somebody talk about that too.
Yeah.
Well, you put them out in front of a whole group of people
How are you, Tracy?
sometimes.
That's all about you.
I
still have fun.
I
do really good at home.
The quack doesn't apply to you.
So, two questions. The first one, that letter you read, I assume that was from the Danville
That
Museum.
Danville,
Museum.
I didn't know I was gonna start off the morning that way. I recently read a book called Ordinary Men. And it's a book, and it interviews and tells the stories of one of these death squads. And they were ordinary men. They were a little too old or not in physical shape or something to be in frontline troops, and they just they got drunk every night. They kept them full of liquor, and it was just sort of expected that you do this, and there aren't very many people. And if anybody did say, I'm not gonna do this, they didn't bother them. They left them alone. But the stories were horrendous. The worst was, there was a woman or a girl with the resistance, and so they find out who she is, the Gestapo or whoever, so they can't find her, they go to the father's house. And they said, tell us where your daughter is or we'll shoot you. And he told him. Anyway, I didn't know I was gonna start the day off that way.
Sure.
But yeah, that's from the Danville, station with the Anne Frank Museum.
I assume so. Lori's kind of corresponding
Oh,
to me. I'm
okay.
asking questions on her
And
behalf.
I apologize, Lori. I
That's
was,
okay. My second question is that do we buy or trust, like, what's the average that is applied to property tax?
Well, and I'll tell you what, usually we'll go through that. It's in March, I believe, that, annually in March is where they do it. I'm gonna, and I think it amounts to, 4 or 5 cents
Less
on,
than that
on,
per
On each
capita.
bill?
per capita. Yeah, well, 4 or 5 cents on the levy. Let me look and see if it says what, this might not say what they. This doesn't say what they put in, that was before in March or something like that. I'm gonna guess it's in the vicinity of $45,000 or $50,000.
Okay.
And I
how-
apologize, and if you want, I will check on that and give you a call.
Well, just rough.
Okay, and
How
that'd
long's
be
it
my
been?
guess. Oh,
Yeah.
how long's it been going on?
Yeah.
Oh,
Did
Dewey's
you,
been going probably close to 20 years.
I'm sure,
Really?
did you know Dewey?
Oh,
Not
you
around
ever-
here. I
2000.
grew up in Illinois.
2000, he,
Around 2000.
Everybody that knew him never forgets him.
Oh,
Okay.
he was, first time I met him, or first saw him, I stopped at the Dairy Queen, and there was a guy that was there in line, and he had on a pair of work boots. And
What else was he wearing,
looked to me-
Tom?
What looked like to me is a dirty pair of white tidy whities, and that's all I had on.
Call like it is, call like it is.
Anyway, and he was a wonderful person. He was a little eccentric. He drove around a pickup, and he had a broom. Stick out with the broomsticks out of that front the pickup stakes.
Yeah.
You know, they've got holes there so you can.
Sure.
And great guy. And when there's a little cemetery that I believe the county mows, you know, that with a little fence around it out off of Lower Flint. And he left that in his will, that he wanted that to reduce property taxes. If Bob Beck was still on the board, he would tell you that those taxes were actually intended to reduce the rural services tax levy rather than the general tax levy. But at least that was Bob's interpretation of what should have happened.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, we have 2 minutes. With an aye, we're adjourned.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We will have a work session in about 5 minutes with Naomi Lightfoot regarding the 2008 flood. We'll be patient with
Yes,
you.
they come down.
Oh, okay, okay.
First time I see Dewey,
I
speedo.
Well, and I think this might have been a speedo, but it just looked like.
Check
No,
that.
he had a speedo on. I seen him in his underwear too, but.
Okay, it's a privilege to be here this morning and to share my life story, my walk of faith and hope. So this is a story about my faith, but it's also about the walk that I took. And I like to share it to give people faith and hope that they can get through whatever they're going through. I would little word about my background. I was always raised in church, and I was a believer of God, and sometimes we think that just because we go to church, we believe that nothing bad is gonna happen. But things happen, and this is my story. So, I was raised on a farm. I don't have pictures yet, I'm sorry. And so, I knew all about the farm, and we lived in, growing up, I lived in Illinois. And so, I had four sisters, and we always went to church. The doors were open, we went. So, I have lost a lot in my life. My first big loss was my father at age 59, and he died of brain cancer. And it was a very painful thing. He was a wonderful father, and my mother was a widow at 52. So we went through the flood of 65, and that's the picture. This is our farm in Illinois. At the time, nobody lived here. This is the picture of the flood of 65, and we lived on the lock and dam blacktop. At that time, the house was empty, and this is a picture of one of the farm buildings.
Welcome to M18.
Pardon?
Welcome to M18.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, lived on the road. We were just half a mile from the locks. Early 70s, we moved over there. My husband was employed by J.I. Case Company, and we went to live with that farm after the flood had gone down. And he had to go out on flood duty with the National Guard with this flood in 65. So, I say our marriage began with the flood of 65, our marriage ended with the flood of 08. My husband was many years working at Case Company. So we had a son and a daughter. Our son was Troy, our daughter was Tasha. So in 93, another bad flood came, and we had to empty our house. Okay, this is still the flood of 65. So in 93, there was another flood. In 93, we actually had to empty our house. Okay, this is our house before the flood. I've got a few pictures of the home before the flood of 08. And this was the home farm where my husband lived as a child. Then in 97, a picture of my son. Yeah, this is our home before the flood. This is our son. The second great loss in our lives was losing our son at age 27 with brain cancer. And he was a real trooper. He was always there. He never complained about going through any of this. He was a great skier. He had his pilot's license. And once again, bad things can happen to good people, and we never could understand why our son was taken from us. But God always has a plan, regardless of how painful it is. When we don't understand it, God still has a plan for our life. Then in 08 came the big flood. And these are just some pictures of our farm before the flood. You can go through them. It was a painful time. I just hold it here. It was a painful time. So we lived close to the locks, and we would ride our bikes up there all the time. And I remember the last time riding my bikes up there, and people were telling us that this water's coming down from Coralville, that we need to get ready for it. And we had emptied our house in 93, so we just kind of took it nonchalant. It's horrible when you have to empty your home of everything. And even my husband farmed, and we had a machine shed, and he had to get all that stuff ready. And the guy at the locks said to me, I'll never forget, he said, it's coming and you better get ready and it's coming soon. That's what he said. And as I rode my bike up to the locks, I remembered them taking down the gates, and the gates were going down the road that opened the locks. And I knew that was serious, so we finally decided, well, we have to empty our house once again. And so many people, some of the neighbors got huge trucks and stuff from Toomey's to put our home in, the furniture. So that was horrific. Another picture of the flood. That's our garage. It's very, I mean, it doesn't take much to figure it out. And to this day, everything's destroyed, but that red building, the machine shed, is still standing to this day. And that just means a lot to me. It shows that.
That's the only building that's left?
Yes. And it's a miracle that it's left. Why was it? It's kind of like, I feel in my heart, I have a strong faith. I feel in my heart that was God's gift that was left to me after the flood was taken. And this is the machine shed. This is the building that is still standing. And you can tell when the water went down, the tin went like this. And that's the way it is. And to this day, like I said, a lady went over and did an oil painting for me of that machine shed after the water went down. So my family and everybody kept saying that we need to move out, and finally we did. I'll never forget the motors to the locks going down the road, and this is really cool. This is a picture. By that time, we was at our daughter's here in Burlington. In fact, they lived right close to the gentleman that was right there. And we got to their house and we were looking, I thought, oh my goodness, that's on Channel 8, and that was our farm. And so that picture has great meaning to me. And all you could see really, you could barely see the house, but you can see the machine shed.
Wow.
So a third loss in my home was, like I say, June 17th, 08, the waters came, and they came with vengeance. And our house would be the last for the water to reach, because we were right up close to the lock, on the lock and dam blacktop. Our house was right there after the four corners. And you wouldn't think by the time the water got there that it would do much damage, but it did. It shifted the foundation of our house, and so we knew we were condemned by FEMA, and there was no way to save the house. It was totally destroyed. In 35 years, we lost our son, then I lost our home. And so some good friends gave us a place to live up on Strawberry Point. And this was a miracle to us, a wonderful cabin, and my husband and I loved the outdoors. So we lived there for a little bit, and at this cabin, lived there for 2 months. And the next great loss was one day, my husband was retired from Case Company 40-some years, and going back to Troy. Troy was a great skier, and once again, it's difficult to understand why things happen the way they do. So my husband, we both loved the outdoors, and we were just sitting outdoors one day in these chairs, and my husband got up and he just was stone gray, white, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong. And he said, you know, a lot of men don't want to go to the doctor, and he never wanted to go. And I said, dear, you look very sick. He said, no, I'm good, I'm gonna rest. And he got feeling better, and so we had our bikes, we went for a bike ride, and I kept turning around saying, like, why are you so slow today on your bike? Coming to find out later that he was having a heart attack at that time. And so on a Sunday morning, this is just the beginning of some of the aftermath. On a Sunday morning, we were church people, and so I wanted to wake him up for church. and he didn't wake up. So I had no warning signs of the loss of my husband. Okay, so now I'm homeless and I'm a widow in 2 months. Thinking, how will I ever survive? How will I ever make it? So in 1 year, I moved 5 times. And my husband was my husband for 44 years. And I know a lot of the stress from the flood is what took his life. That was the home farm where he farmed as a child growing up. So now I'm at my daughter's house, and now I'm preparing for a funeral. And I have sung all my life, and the only song that would ever come to me was, God will take care of you. And I can honestly say to this day that God has continued to take care of me. And every time I give this story, I hope it brings hope and peace to somebody that really needs it, because it was a very painful time. So, to go over there was so painful, and early on my husband wouldn't let me go over because of the pain and the loss of our home. So finally, the county decided, Henderson County, and I don't know what took them so long, decided to burn the houses. And at that time, my husband was already gone. I think there's pictures of the burning of the house. Well, this is the inside after, which is horrible to look at. But it was a split level house, so this was at the bottom of the family room, and all the stuff in the ceiling had fallen down.
All that mold and stuff.
Yeah, and the mold. There was no way that this house could be saved, and what made it more painful, no one lived there, but yet people were tearing down the doors to go in. I mean, how could you do that? But people did that, just to find stuff.
Yeah.
And this is just one big mess. And I got so tired of moving stuff, finally we just left stuff. There was just... So, this is the day that they burnt the houses, and I'll never forget going up to Aquaka, and you had to sign papers. And I could not sign my name. My husband wasn't there. You had to sign papers for them to do this to your house. There was no reason why we should keep it. I think there's another one too, isn't there? Yeah, and then they burned it. And I'm sorry that I'm very emotional, but
You don't have to apologize for anything.
so after the fire was over, if you don't have a faith, this might sound strange to you, but a deep faith, because God has taken care of me. So, after the fire was gone, I just asked God for some kind of a sign. I would go over there by myself, and my family would bawl me out for it, but I couldn't help it. That was our home. And so one day, after the house had burnt and everything, I had many flower beds. I love flowers. I love the outdoors, and I went over there and asked just God for something, and I looked down at the ground, and there was a little cluster of African violets, and next to the African violets was laying this Bible. And I picked it up. There was no reason why those African violets should even be there, but they were there for a sign. And I picked it up and immediately called my brother-in-law in Des Moines. I said, where did this come from? And he said, most of the time they call me No, my real name's Naoma. And Ken said to me, he says, no, that's the Bible that we sent you, we brought home from the Holy Land. The back of it is stamped Jerusalem, and honestly, most of it is readable. And for the longest time, it smelt like the water, it smelt like the flood. So this was the sign that God left me. And if you want to afterwards, you can look at it. So the back of it is stamped Jerusalem. And so, I have learned to make it through. I just have a couple scriptures. This might sound strange to you, but, in Psalms 18, I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I may trust. And I will always trust the Lord. And this is my dad's favorite scripture. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth thee. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord Jehovah is everlasting, gives you everlasting strength. That pretty well tells my story, except one more thing. I like to tell people that life isn't always a rose bed, but if you really have faith in your heart, you can count on the Lord to take care of you. It doesn't matter what church you go to, but if you have faith, God will take care of you, because that's the promise He gave me. And many times we're not prepared for any of this stuff. So it's very important to be prepared for the unknown. I never dreamt my husband would die. I never dreamt I would lose my home of 35 years. I never dreamt I would lose my son at age 27. So I'm called to give this story. I'm called to give you hope and peace in your heart that only God can put there. And I thank you for the opportunity of sharing this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So how many times have you given this speech?
Close to 40.
Well, I'm sure that wasn't easy to do, but I'm just so glad that I ran into you that day.
I know, it's a weird situation.
All right, at Doug Brothers, but, no, I appreciate that. Somebody needs to be encouraged from that story, so.
I think encouragement's very important in the day we live in. If you don't have it, if you don't have hope and peace, what do you have?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you have. So I've been called to do this, so this is what I do. And every time, you relive it every time, so anytime that river does something, it extremely, I shouldn't let it, but it still gives me indigestion, because I know the power of that water. So it was interesting you talked about that this morning. You know, as the river went down, in '08, it came up very, very fast. I was out of there, my husband was still over there sandbagging so the water wouldn't come into Gladstone. I was just terrified he was gonna get caught over there, because once they close that bridge, you can't get through.
Yeah, a lot of people's lives got wrecked in 2008.
Right. So if any of you have any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Tracy?
Yeah, what was your husband's name? I didn't.
He knew everybody. His real name was Charles Lightfoot, but everybody called him Charlie.
Okay.
And he was at Case Company 40-some years. He was a wonderful, wonderful man. But you know what? Most men aren't good patients, and I believe God's grace took him in his sleep, and he never suffered at all. And he always said to me, dear, you're stronger, you're gonna live longer. And so I knew I had to pull it together and be strong, and I never sat and felt sorry for myself.
What year was this again when your husband passed?
Pardon?
What year was this when your husband passed?
In '08.
He
I
passed
was
in 08.
homeless and a widow in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So I say, I made it, other people could make it.
You're doing it, kid. God bless you.
I have a question for you, because I heard the old boys talk about 65 a lot during 2008.
Mhm.
How did your husband think they compared, the one flood to the other?
08 was the worst.
Yep.
Yep. I remember we had just gotten married, I didn't go through all my notes, we had just gotten married in 65, and he had to go out in flood duty with the National Guard. So I always say, our marriage began with the flood, our marriage ended with the flood.
Literally, wow.
Literally, the power of the water.
Wow.
And we didn't really think, and after moving once, emptying your house once, we thought, nah, it's not gonna happen again. But the neighbors brought us a huge semi, and my family came and my husband packed that semi, just immaculate. And they stored them up in Toomey's elevators. Mhm.
I did flood recovery at regional planning in '08, and we did a lot of outreach
We got-
people that go through floods and people that go through tornadoes, the people that go through tornadoes prefer that. Because there's nothing left. With
Yeah.
flooding, you've got all this
And that's why
stuff to deal with.
Henderson County doesn't have like a lot of taxes coming in because so many people left and they didn't go back. But we were very blessed, and probably other people, we had coupons for eating places and all kinds of stuff that was given, yeah. So,
Spent a lot of time on the Iowa side of the river, 65 sandbagging.
did you?
Yeah, been down there about 4 days.
I don't think anybody
Bill?
really knows anything unless you've been through it.
But,
It's hard
you
to-
could walk on that levee and you could feel it squish between you.
Oh, yeah,
Under your feet.
and we were
Just kept putting sandbags after sandbags
walking
there.
distance to the locks. We
Yeah.
rode our bikes up there all the time. When the steamboats would come through and our kids were small, we could hear, oh, I still love that music. You could hear it coming down the river.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
Life's crazy.
That it is. But you said it, look what you've survived, and look what you've been through, and you're still doing it.
Yep,
Still
and I'm maybe 81 now.
What? Don't say that too loud, that'll make very many friends. Anyways, bless your heart.
No, I thank you. I thank you.
Thank you for
Bye,
coming in.
Tracy.
See you.
See you later.
Miss Trace?